Alright guys, so we are back with another Final Fantasy VII Remake discussion video. This time around we're discussing whether or not Square Enix is being greedy when it comes to Final Fantasy VII Remake, and this is based pretty much off the fact that the game is coming out in multiple parts, multiple games. People out there seem to be against that idea. They don't want to have to pay $60 multiple times. If you go back to 2015, a much younger David would be agreeing with those people because I made a rant video back then complaining about the game's new combat system. I wasn't into the action RPG thing, and the game coming out in multiple parts, or episodic as we thought at the time. But as time's gone on, I've learned to embrace the idea of the not turn-based combat and the fact that the game's going to come out in multiple parts, and I understand why, because it's a massive undertaking what they're doing. They're remaking Final Fantasy VII, which was a pretty damn big game for its time on the PlayStation. We're making it from the ground up for current-gen consoles, for the current generation. They're going to expand on pretty much every single location, I'd imagine. I'd hope that Midgar is going to be a lot more explorable. I've said this so many times on my channel over the past couple of years. But I just hope we can explore the absolute hell out of Midgar, potentially every single sector above and below the plate. That would be awesome. And even if they don't expand on each location that much, they still have to render it into 3D because obviously it is a modern video game as opposed to this like pre-rendered image in the background that you're just walking on top of. And even if they don't expand on locations that much, you still have the potential of the game being open world or having an overworld. And I imagine locations would be a lot greater distances apart, because in the initial game, it takes you like a mere couple of seconds to walk from Midgar to Kalm on the overworld. Whereas now I imagine it would take you a couple of minutes to walk from one location to the next, with the potential of them adding in new locations, like, I don't know, potentially a new cave or something to explore in between Midgar and Kalm. And on top of all that, if you factor in the game having a lot more cinematics than the original game had, the graphics being a major step forward, obviously, certainly not pushing the console generation to its limits, but graphically impressive. Dialogue, voice lines, the original game did not have that. The gameplay is obviously a lot more extensive than just regular turn-based combat. And then if they keep the idea of the game being like open world, or the game being the size of an actual planet, you can explore an entire planet, the game pretty much has to be in multiple parts. It all pretty much comes down to the amount of content within each release of Final Fantasy VII Remake. They've claimed that they want them to be the size of full games. Kitase used the example of Final Fantasy XIII, which people have just latched onto over the years. But he says that they want each part of Final Fantasy VII Remake to be the length of a Final Fantasy XIII game. And if that remains true, you're looking at roughly about 40 plus hours of gameplay, which was pretty much the entire length of the original FF7, but that's not even factoring in all the side content that Final Fantasy XIII had to offer, so you're looking at even more time than that, and the fact that this game is going to come out in multiple parts, whether it be 2 or 3, with about 40-ish hours of content, if not more than that. 30 to 40 hours of just story content for a game is still good by today's standards, and a lot of games out there don't even hit that mark. They usually fill that up with side content, with a bunch of collectibles and things you gotta do around the world, instead of just giving you actual story. So for me personally, if they can hit that like beautiful 30-hour mark per game with just story content, but then a bunch of side things to do, even if they're just monotonous like fetch quests, go over here, kill this enemy for me, here's your reward, I'm fine with that, to be honest, just because it's something to do besides just the story, and the original game didn't really have that. They had very limited, very few side quest type of things that you could even do in the original game. So I'm fine with some kind of fetch quest or some kind of linear type of stuff to do, as long as it adds to the length of the game. And while I have said in the past that I'd buy a completely remade FF7, as in they'd change absolutely nothing, they just make it look like what the remake looks like, I still do want new things. And they say they want to change certain things around so it keeps longtime fans kind of guessing. They don't expect every single thing that's happening in the game. I'm fine with that. But I also want just new things, and as in new locations. It'd be great to leave Midgar, as I mentioned earlier, as an example. I'm walking to Kalm, and over here's the new cave. It's well, that cave's not there. There's not a cave in between Midgar and Kalm. And then maybe I see a house in the distance or a building in the distance, and I'm well, that wasn't there before. I want to go explore that. That's the type of stuff I want with the remake. I'm hoping that they don't just change things around, that they actually add new stuff to the world. As long as Square Enix can tick 3 boxes for me, I'll be satisfied. 30-ish hours of story content, side content, whether it be side quests, new locations to explore, mini games, whatever, anything to do besides playing just the story, and then there not being too many parts. 3 is the absolute maximum that I would like. I don't want any more than that. I don't think they would do 4 parts. That seems like way too much anyways. But as long as there's 2 to 3 parts and there's enough content to warrant a $60 purchase, I have no problem paying it. But that's my personal take on it. You can absolutely disagree if you want to. I don't think that they're necessarily being greedy. I don't think it's just a cash grab. It's always been the ace up their sleeve. It's always been something they were going to do. They were always going to remake this game inevitably because of the fan demand. And I think what they're doing, the massive undertaking that it is, requires at least 2 to 3 games. And as long as they handle it right, I don't mind paying $60 a piece. But as always, this is a discussion video, so I pass it off to you guys in the comment section. What are your thoughts? Are you okay with having to buy multiple games at $60 a piece? And if not, what would have to be in the games to warrant you wanting to pay $60? And as I mentioned in my last video, I want to start showing off comments at the end of each of my videos, pretty much the comments from the previous video, kind of like mini shoutouts to the people that are supporting the channel. Appreciate you guys. Either way, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and want to stay up to date with more Final Fantasy VII Remake content, turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter at TheDashingDavid, at my Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.